what's going on, guys? Hope you guys are having a good morning so far and are getting ready for August, brand new month. Gonna make this video a little bit shorter, but let's get into it right away. Okay, so on Thursday we have initial jobless claims, and that is pre-market. And on Friday we have non-farm payrolls and consumer credit. So someone asked, what are non-farm payrolls? It's very simple, actually. It's the measure of the number of workers in the United States excluding farm workers. So it just measures the employment rate. And then we have consumer credit on Friday as well, also pre-market. So it shows consumer credit, basically how much people are taking on loans, etc. Okay, let's dive into the ES, and then we have SPY on the right. I got asked to review the SPY instead of just the E-mini futures. So I'll just do them side by side, and hopefully that helps. Okay, and just show you that they move the exact same way as I described before. Alright, so for ES and SPY, I started to get bearish under this 4,109 pivot, 4,110, somewhere around here, because we see here this is a big support area around 4,100 to 4,010, just a small 10-point range. But I started to get bearish under this because I feel like this is getting a little bit extended, although setups and overall stocks are looking just fine. But I do think that we are getting a retracement down sooner or later within the couple days, certainly this week. If we look at SPY here, we can see here SPY looks a little bit different than futures, because futures, these candles represent also the overnight trading session. Meanwhile, SPY only represents, the candle only represents from open to close. Okay, so that's why the candles might look a little bit different, but intraday they trade the exact same. But on SPY, we can see how this 416.50 is a big resistance area. So maybe one more or two more up days, and then I expect it to slow down a little bit near the 416.50 area. And if we do manage to break that, I don't think we'll stop right away. I think we can push maybe to 423, this kind of area right here, with this wick and this bottom, and then possibly 430. I don't think we'll pass 430 just because this would be a huge extension, and it wouldn't be healthy for an overall bottom. Okay, so let's recap real quick. I started to get bearish under 4109, and then 4085 is around here. That's where I also get bearish again if it breaks these support levels right here. You can see how these candle closes all these wicks. So I started to get bearish under there. But what's interesting about 4085 is that it's a 50% retracement from the bottom, from the run. So this is something that you just want to keep in mind, that 4085, this area 4080 to 4085, this area right here is a strong pivot. So we should see some support there. But if that breaks, then I do think this rally comes to an end like sometime soon. Right? And then let's go to NQ. NQ is basically NASDAQ or QQQ. Alright. Let's down a little bit in this case, so it looks a little bit better. There we go. Alright, sweet. So QQQ, pretty big run as well, as we've seen the past 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But I do start to get a little bit bearish under, I started to get bearish as well at 13,550. So this would be a big extent. This would be another 600 points from here. Okay, so this is, I would definitely short this area with like a tight stop loss above maybe 50 points or something. But shorting this area you could easily get 400 points, 300 points out of this short. Alright, and that same area matches up with QQQ on 330. Just happens to be an exact number. Alright, so this area right here, let's draw it together. You can see how this is a strong resistance area. It failed to break up multiple times, even with strong candles, right? So sellers were really strong in this area. This is where I get bearish. I also get bearish around this area, 317. Same area, similar area on SPY, but SPY is a little bit further up, but it's a bit closer on QQQ, which kind of reinforces my bear thesis, because NASDAQ tends to drop faster and tends to drop first compared to the S&P 500, just because it's mostly tech stocks. But this area, I want to see a reaction to this. I'm not bearish or bullish, but I want to see how this reacts. But under this, if it rejects early in the morning and starts to fall, then I do kind of get a little bit bearish especially with the earnings last week. Okay, so let's recap a little bit. So, and I didn't mention QQQ. I'm sorry. QQQ. So basically, I get bearish at 321. I don't really get bearish at 321. It's just something to keep in mind, right? So 321, somewhere around this area. Maybe actually change that to 322 or 323. I apologize. So somewhere around this area, 323, and then at 330, and then another one at a little bit near 335. Maybe it would be like a fake stop run, but then if it goes to 347, which is still another 10% move from Nasdaq, which it's kind of difficult to think about, but anything could happen with this market. But you can't forget the overall trend is still bearish, right? You still can't forget that. But let's just say the market breaks this 317 area and then also breaks 330. Then I just expect it to, go to 347 rather quickly. Okay. And then some stocks I want to show you guys. Stocks to watch for. Okay. So I'm gonna move my other screen. I'm gonna go over the indexes again one more time, by the way. But let's take a look. So Amazon. Oops. I'm looking at the 138 pivot on the daily. So this is, you can see how this was strong support and now it's resistance even with our earnings gap. Alright, it's failure to break up. Even when the Nasdaq was really strong on Friday, it kind of failed to break above. So this is a pivot I'd watch and watch for the rejection. If also look in the 1 hour, it's kind of making this little base. So I just have support and resistance drawn, so like 135 and 137, right? Very simple. Alright, so the first one's Amazon under 138. Second one is ASEAN. Actually really like this setup. Could reject, but it looks alright. Kind of see this downtrend breakout, right? ASEAN's been beaten up really hard. It was in almost 200 and now it's like 20, 16. But you can kind of see how it's trying to bottom a little bit, making this big base since May. Right, so it hasn't really been dropping since May. It's almost a couple months now. So you just want to watch this downtrend breakout for like a little bit, a move over 20 right here. See this triple top right here. So I move over 20, possibly for 23 to 25. These moves they're usually explosive. So this is something you want to keep on your radar. Another one is the Chinese. What's it called? The ETF, right? So you want to make sure that a lot of China. There's a lot of talks right now, and the Nasdaq's talking about delisting and Baba's getting added on there. So you just want to make sure that the Chinese doesn't break down, because if China breaks down, then the Nasdaq could also follow, right? China usually tends to go early, and the United States market kind of follows. So you can see here it ran in May, and the United States market is just starting to follow. But if we start to fall on the Chinese market, we could see the United States market follow after. It's just one of the data points that are helpful to us, right? So if it falls under this 28 pivot, I'd be cautious. Another great setup I'm seeing is Crocs. Right, so you can see how this 74 resistance, it used to be support and now it turned into resistance. I want to see a reaction to it. If it breaks through, then I expect to go to the 85, and then this would definitely be a good short opportunity. Right, you can see this resistance right here, then more resistance right here. Let's actually extend this line a little bit. Right, so you see how this is huge resistance right here, right? And it would be a great run from it. Would almost be a double. So this would be a good risk reward short near 85 Crocs. But I want to see the 74 reaction first, and see how it reacts to 78 as well. But if it cracks 74 to 78, then this is probably going to 85. So a lot of talks with the monkeypox vaccine and whatever. So something you want to keep your eyes on, Moderna. It's kind of flagging in this daily, especially with the gap on Friday. So it does look alright over 166 to 167. It does start to look better. Could just be a pop back to 175 and retest the 185 highs and see if it wants to break out. So just have this bull flag, and maybe you could also put an alert on this trend line. I forgot how, but Let's see. Anyways, there's a way to do it, but or you could just manually see it, right? But a little bit over 167, I started to get more bullish on Moderna, but or if the trend line fails, right, you could grab puts. Just see how this trend line reacts tomorrow. Okay, and then we have Apple. Apple's actually in a very interesting spot because it's making this weird candle, which is a bearish candle on the daily, right? It's this more like a doji. It's not a doji, but it shows a lot of indecision in the upwards and downwards wicks. But it's definitely nearing a big pivot near 165 from 166. Then if we also look at the weekly chart, right, you could kind of see this. Let me draw this line. You can kind of see this 166 kind of resistance. It's a big pivot, right? Apple running from 130, it's definitely a big run. But over 166, there isn't really much room until all-time highs for some sort of resistance, right? So if 166 breaks on early in the week, I'd just be cautious. And this definitely has potential to go all-time highs if it breaks this pivot right here. Right, and then my last good setup for the week that I noticed is Netflix on this 65-minute chart. Actually, we could also see it on the daily. It's setting up a short actually, but you could kind of see this resistance right here, right? The supply zone. It's not able to crack 228, 227, 229, right? If you see what I'm saying, right? It's struggling to break. Every time it goes, it just gets rejected, stops near it. Right? If we look at the 65-minute, right, it's stopping there, right? For a reason. Also, if we look at the initial gap right here, it's the same area where buyers struggle to break it above. It's a very simple trade, right? If it breaks above, you take calls. Until then, I'd probably just avoid. If it breaks to the downside, maybe under 223, maybe under 220, you could grab puts for this rejection, and Netflix could see 204, 205 back pretty quickly in like a matter of days. Right, and then I'll show you guys my notes so you guys know what I'm talking about. So these are my notes. This is basically what's in this video. Okay, NQ, let's go here real quick. Bearish at 13,550 if it breaks under 900, so kind of this area right here, and then 875, so it should be around this area. Right, this is where, let's see, it's 875 right here. Actually, this kind of support area right here, if this breaks under pretty quickly, then I'll start to get bearish. And bullish, I get bullish over 13,160, so it's actually over the daily. And then 12,650, and then someone's gonna ask, I know, why do you get bullish at 12,650? It's actually a retest of the lows right here, right? So you can see, or you could also do 575 around here, but I prefer 650 just because it's closer and there's a lot of wicks there and some support here as well. But this 600 650 pullback, I would try buying it. Maybe you could wait until 600, 610 maybe, like this area, 575 to 670. It's a 100-point range, but if it's near the end of the day, then maybe you want to wait a little bit. Or if it's right in the beginning of the first 30 minutes, then I'd just wait and see what the beginning of the trading day does. Okay, and then let's go to ES and SPY. Alright, so SPY, ES, sorry. I get bearish under this level, as I mentioned earlier in the video, and then I get bearish also under 40.85, this resistance, this support area right here. You could also do 40.78, but that's, or 40.70, but that's just, you could be leaving a good trade on the table for 10 points. Okay. And then over 40.85, I'm sorry, over 41.27, I started to get bullish. So 40.27 is 41.27. I apologize. It's interesting because it's right here. So futures are going on right now, but this is like a big pivot. You can see how it's kind of rejecting as well. Well, 41.27. You can see on the 15-minute, same thing, right? 41.27 right here. So I get bullish over there. 41.38. It's kind like it's all right. 41.38 would just get a snap to 41.44. We'd probably just have a candle, like a really extremely fast candle. But the reason I chose this pivot is because the candle closes right here. And then 41.47 it's a daily pivot. So somewhere around right here, like 41.50, you could say. It's more, no, it's a rounded up number, but 41.50. I'd also get bullish for there. And for like a 50 point move, right? So your first target could be 41.75 and 4,200. Okay. And then for SPY's right here. Same thing as ES, but I'll call it out anyways. Right? I get bearish right here at 429. 416 you could start to get bearish, but I only wrote bearish just because it's a big resistance area, but you could just watch and see how it reacts. And then 409, it starts to get under this support area right here, 408, 409. And then yeah, this is where I'd just be cautious with the downside move, because if it breaks this range right here near the 407, 408, it's more likely to test under 400 back again, right? So it's more likely to test 403, and then sends it back to 397, and then 388. But hopefully we don't go there. But yeah, you have my notes here. This is basically everything I said in the video. But the levels are more clear. Here's the futures, here's the indexes, and here's the stocks to watch with my notes on it, and then here's the 2 important economic events for the week. Alright, I hope you watch this in the morning before the week opens, and stay focused. It doesn't matter what happened last month. Learn from your mistakes. It's a new month. Make it your best one so far, and believe in yourself and have the confidence to stay in a trade and know why you're in the trade. Right? Don't just be picking random trades. Know why you're in it. This helps build consistency, and then with consistency, it builds your confidence. Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me. And thanks for watching another video. See you guys this week. Have a good night or morning.